Hi everyone, it's Jay. I am getting ready to do something a little different. I have been working with the December palette that I have colors I've chosen, which you can download from the link on my website in the description. And I have already made 12 mini paintings this way and this way. This group was made with acrylic and Inktense, and they turned out really cute. If you look at my November videos, you'll see where I did 12 in November. I followed the same process, except for I did not use collage this time. I hadn't been in the mood for it, so I just used the paint. This is Inktense with a little bit of acrylic and some gold worked in there, some gold script stencil in there. They turned out really pretty. And so I've been working on those. And then I actually did I got in a realism mode. I've been working on some digital budgie paintings that I've been doing, some digital art for my booth here. And I decided to do a traditional one. And this is made with mostly all Inktense. The only acrylic on here is the white highlight feathers on the bird and here. But the bird colors were very close to the December colors. So that got me in the mood to do that. So that's why I didn't video that. Well, I actually tried. I tried to video that, but I had some complications and it didn't go as planned. So today I'm going to try something a little different. I have a wood block here, and this is from Hobby Lobby, and I'm trying to remember the exact name of the company, the sticker that's on the back, but Hobby Lobby carries them. They're about 1 inch or so thick. This is an 8-inch block, I believe. It doesn't matter. But I've coated it with gesso. First with white gesso, and then with clear gesso, because I'm going to use a little bit of my pastels on here. And the clear gesso gives a tooth to a surface like this so that you can work with pastels. But I've been leaving my pastels out of my work lately, and I thought, well, I thought they were feeling a little neglected. So I'm going to work on that block, and I'm going to try to do a nest painting. It's been a long time since I've done one. Sometimes I'll do they're sort of abstract. Sometimes I'll do one with collage pieces inside the nest, because birds like to take little pieces of paper and put them in their nest, and I think that's cool. But like I said, I'm not in collage mood right now. But when I say clear gesso for the wood, it actually says clear gesso, but it gives it a tooth so the pastel can grab it a little bit better. The problem is, when you use soft pastel on a board like this, it has to be sealed in some way. Spraying fixative on it isn't going to do it, because I've done a lot of soft pastels. If you've seen my Skillshare classes, I've done a class on painting skies. I don't usually use a fixative, but you can. I have the fixative. I have tested it. And while it stops the pastel from coming away from the paper, if you touch it, it's still going to come off on your hands. So in order to use pastel on something like this, which will be handled, I need to seal it. And there's 2 ways that I like to do that. One way is I like to use matte medium, which is white when it goes on, but it dries clear. And the other way is to use white gesso or white paint, which of course softens the colors and makes them lighter and more pastel color. And I thought I would just do a little experiment here. And I've got a charcoal pencil here, some Inktense pencils that I want to use today. The Inktense blocks over here. Got a couple of those in my colors. And then some soft pastels. So I thought what I would do is experiment and show you what happens with this experiment. So I'm just going to scribble some charcoal pencil in, I don't know why I have 2 boxes for that, in those 2 boxes. And then I'm going to take Inktense. I actually have 2 colors here. So I'm going to scribble some of that down. Inktense is water activated. And it becomes permanent once you wet it and it sets and dries. It becomes permanent. It cannot be wiped off. But I do like to use other mediums with it sometimes. And then I have the Inktense blocks. I've got 3 colors here. This is the dark brown. I believe I've been using really dark brown. This is sort of a dark turquoise green, which kind of goes with this color right here. And then this is the turquoise. And I have all the acrylics out here too that I've picked to work with this, but I don't need to use those on here because I wanted to show you just with these other mediums. So then I have some pastels, and I have a few blues. This one, and this one, and this one. And then I have this green, which sort of goes with that. And then I have a brown and this gray. It's sort of a neutral gray, warm gray. So actually, let me just go through, because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mix matte medium with the ones I've just done. And then on the bottom ones, I'm going to mix the gesso, the white gesso in there to show you. And I don't know why I did 2 for the charcoal. I wasn't thinking. But I wanted to show you the difference in what it looks like when you add the 2 different substances. Inktense block. And so I just thought I'd do this little experiment. Plus it'll help me know for sure whether I want to use a certain one, because I haven't really tested all these. I haven't tested the pastels at all. But I love my pastels, and I don't want to neglect them. So I'm going to start with the matte medium. And I'm just going to put a little bit in the dish here. I don't need a whole lot, I don't think. Now remember, this is white, but goes on white, but dries clear. That's why I wanted to start with this one first. But this can help blend colors in these kind of mediums. It can also help set it. Once it's got this on it, it's not going anywhere. So I'm just gonna, got a little too much on there. Mix some of this with the charcoal pencil. Let's just see what happens. It's just kind of sealing it. Do 2 of them here. And if you drag it out, you can see the gray it's producing from that charcoal pencil. All right, let's try the matte medium with the Inktense pencil. And remember, it goes on white, but it'll dry clear. I'm going to wash the brush between colors on this one. These. And you really have to work it a little bit with this when it's on paper. I usually don't use Inktense straight on paper. I usually get it wet and drip it in and use a brush to maneuver it. So that's the Inktense pencil with the matte medium. You can see the dark brown, the brown one looks a little more scratchy than the yellow. Now we're going to test the Inktense block with the matte medium. If you really work it with the brush, it'll break that scratchiness up, but let me extend out a little. So, but you can see it looks a little more white. I mean pastel-y, because the matte medium is white until it dries. But you can easily use matte medium over Inktense block without it, you know, once it's completed, without it changing the look of it. But you get more of a wash this way. And let's try the darker one. And I probably had too much on there too. See, I didn't have near as much on the darker one, and there's the brown. And then once that dries with that matte medium, all of this will be sealed. All right, now we're going to the pastels. I'm going to try not to have too much on there, just enough to move it. That's really light there. Well, let's move right into this one since I still have quite a bit on that brush. You can still see a little bit of the scratchiness on the paper from the actual pastel. Now, this paper was not treated with the clear gesso. This is just regular watercolor paper. But, you know, normally after pastel is blended and on the page, if you take your finger on this, you're going to get it on your finger. And that's the way pastel does. Even if you spray a fixative on it, that's going to happen. And I don't like sprays. I'm sensitive to chemicals, and even though the stuff I have here doesn't smell real bad, I just don't like using them. Let's see if I can get this color to move a little bit. It's not really moving much, but like I said, it's not the right kind of paper for it. Still, you can see the color that you're getting with that, and that'll be sealed once that dries. And let's get the darker one. The darker ones definitely do better than the lighter ones. But I just want to integrate. Now, I didn't get all of that pastel on there, so I just want to integrate some of my pastels into my work. All right, so those are the ones with the matte medium. And we're going to let that dry. Set that over here. Now, we're going to clean this off. Just wipe that right on out of there. Now we're going to try just a little white gesso. And for that one, I'm going to use this brush. And the brush you're using when you're doing this can make a difference. This brush is a little longer than this one, and it's really soft. So it really couldn't work in there really super good. This brush is a little shorter and stubbier and really can scrub some color around. So I'm going to use this on the charcoal, and it's totally going to change it to gray. Look at that. Just changed it to gray paint because of mixing with the white. All right, let's see what happens with the Inktense. And it's really lightening that brown. Almost made it a beige now because of the mixing with the white. And this will stay white. These are starting to dry, and you can see their colors are still pretty intense underneath it. And this one I got a little too much on the brush, and it's really making that yellow very, very light. Almost a really light cream, which is interesting. But I like mixing with different things to see what it'll do. So I know if I'm going to use one or the other, what it's going to do to it. All right, let's go to the Inktense block. Ooh, look what it's done to that turquoise. It's lightened it, yes, but look at that luscious light blue. It basically takes the Inktense is tinting the white gesso there, so it's tinting it a certain color and turning it into paint. And you scrub this one, the green. Oh, isn't that pretty for a really soft? That's nice too. You know, I was thinking the other day when I was playing with these Inktense and some white paint, if you just used plain white paint or white gesso and used Inktense to tint it, you could get a pretty wide range of colors. The only thing is they're not very intense when you do that. But Inktense are very, very bold and very bright. And this is a way to soften some of them. All right, let's get this one. This is the brown. And I probably got a little too much white. That's almost a brownish gray. Now we're going to have some fun here with the pastels. With the Oh, I didn't do the matte medium on those two. Shoot. Well, you'd get the idea. It'd look like this, but sealed. But I try to remember here. And same way here. This just basically tints it. That just tints it right out. Makes that white really light blue. The blue's almost disappeared. Let me go to this one. Also made it very, very light. And let's go to this one. But these are now sealed. They will be when they're dry. And that's the important part. And I got a little too much white on there. And the more white you get on there, the difference. Look at the difference between that and that. Of course, I had a lot of white on the brush. Less white would probably be more beneficial on this case. Let's try just a lot less with the brown. That sort of grayed that out. I need to do the matte medium. Well, you can see it would dry very similar to this. These two would be very similar. And this is just going to turn into a cream. So that's what it has done to use the two different things. And they're not totally dry yet. But when they are, and I'm not worried about the Inktense, because when Inktense gets wet with water at all, or paint, it is going to liquefy it. It's just that the paints change the colors of it. See how bold Inktense normally is. And then look how when you add the white paint, how it really softens it up. But what I was really interested in was these. And when these get dry, I'll be able to rub my finger over those and not pick up anything. But these two, because I didn't put anything on those, will just come right off on my hands. So that's interesting, though, the difference in the two. You really, and it may be, like I said, the brush. The brush may scrubbed more on here with the white paint than it did up here. Well, I could take some of the, where's that matte medium? Let me just do a little sample of that here. Oops, because I'm going to have to clean that off anyway. Let me just go ahead and do that with this brush. Just get a little bit on that brush and do these two sections right here. See, it just scrubs it a little bit more. But this, once this dries, this pastel will be set and it won't be able to come off the page. See, that just made it. This one with the white obviously made it a lot lighter than that. That is almost the exact color of the pastel because the matte medium will dry clear. It's a little bit lighter than it will dry because it's white when it comes out. But once it dries, it's going to be clear. So that's very interesting. If I want to maintain the bold look but seal the product, I would use the matte medium. And if I want to change the color, lighten it, soften it, and seal the product, I would use the white. But I'm really noticing the difference here because Inktense is so powerful. Well, the pastels are too. Even though they're pastel, they're still pretty powerful colors in there, especially those blues. But look how much lighter they are here. But this, you can really tell the difference in these. And the charcoal, it just basically turned it gray when you add the white paint. Did not leave the charcoal lines showing at all. So if you want the lines showing, matte medium. If you want to just turn some of that gray, blend a little white paint with it. So I'm going to set this aside to dry, and then I'll do the touch test after it's dry. And I want to work on this block. Now these, another thing I like about these boards from Hobby Lobby, wood pile. That's the name on the sticker, wood pile. They have two sizes. They only have two sizes of these with the hooks on the back already. They have this one, which I think this, let me see. I think this is 8. Well, it's 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. That's this one. And then the other one is long and rectangular. And it has the hook where you could hang it landscape style, but you can always take the hook off. So there's little screws and move it to hang it portrait style in that case. But this being a square, I don't need to move anything. And I thought it was super fun that the hooks were already on there because that's just another thing I have to do to prepare it when I finish a piece is put the hook on the back. And it seems like I always forget about that. And I'm like, oh, in order to hang this, we need to have the hook or something, wire hook or something on the back. So what I want to do today for my little abstract experiment is I want to do a bird's nest, I think. But I think I want to, before I draw with my pencil on there, I think I want to add some pastels on here. I've coated this with the clear gesso So it should take the pastels pretty good. And I just want to add some of these colors in here. And like so. And I'm just not thinking about it at all, just using the color that I picked up. Let's get some, well, I'm going to save the brown for the nest area, I think. Let's get some of this pretty turquoise, which is one of the December colors. And then some of this blue here, which I thought was interesting. And then maybe some of this lighter blue up here. Oh yeah. Maybe even behind the nest there. Oh. So I'm kind of maybe mapping out where I might want my nest to be there in the center. And now I've made this big mess. So do I want these colors like this, or do I want them with the white? And I'm thinking I would like to start a little bit on the softer side and then build up on this piece. If I want to add some stronger later, I have my acrylics right here and my Inktense right here. So I just thought I'd get a brush, and let's see, what brush I want to use that's close by. I guess I'll just use this one. Either one. I already have this one out. I may just use that one since I already had it out and was using it. I'm just going to, I'm going to use up this matte medium and the gesso at the same time, the white gesso. And I'm just going to start moving some color around here, which is now turning my color into a soft paint. And of course I've used most of what's in there up, so I'm going to need some more gesso in there. But you can tell from the color on the brush what's happening. See? But this is turning this pastel into paint. And I chose the white because I wanted the paint color to be softer. Let me see if I can move some of this around. Of course, now I have a lot of white on here. And I don't know. I got a few bits of it there. I don't know if what I want to do here with the dark. I'm going to clean the brush good. And I could put some matte medium right there, but I already got this going, so let me just do the light here, the white, I mean, and then come down here into the dark area and go all around the edges. So look at there, it got me a nice background. Yes, it's softer than the pastel colors, but it will be sealed once it dries. Now, if I wanted to add more pastel on top of this, I would probably want to add another layer of clear gesso to give more of the tooth if there wasn't enough there. I can always add some because I'm not trying to rub it in. When you're doing pastel on paper, and I like pastel matte paper because it's got the perfect tooth for blending multiple layers of color together. When you're doing it on a board, you don't have any tooth unless you give it tooth. And so that's what the clear gesso is for in this case. But this is a good start to what's going to be my nest. And I'm going to let this dry for just a couple minutes. I'm going to clean out my little tray. And I'm going to let it dry for just a few minutes. And then I'm going to come back and sketch out the actual nest shape with my charcoal pencil. And then decide where I want to go from there. But this is layer 1. And as soon as it dries, it'll be sealed. And let's check these. They're not quite dry yet. This one's not. The rest of them may be. So I'll let that dry as well. And when I come back, we'll do a touch test on that. And see if anything comes off on my hands. Well, I think we're pretty close to being dry with everything here. Let's see. Now remember, this was soft pastel. Nothing on my hands. It's sealed in there. I love it. I love it. Now let's check our sheet. None of this is moving. None of it. Nothing on my hands. Isn't that beautiful? This gives you a way to use your paper, your dry mediums, stuff that normally has to be framed behind glass without having to frame it behind glass. So now I'm ready to draw out my little nest. And I'm going to use this charcoal pencil. And I'm just going to do a kind of a little, it may not be dry enough. I'm just going to do it real lightly. Kind of a little circle area here. And just kind of start going around in a circle. And I'm trying to hold way back on the pencil. Gee, that almost looks like it could be a flower. I'm trying to hold back. Ooh, I got an angle line there. Trying to hold back on the pencil so that I don't have that much control over it. Now, nest is going to have all kinds of woven lines. And it's going to have some little twigs and straggly things sticking out. You know, here and there. I'm used to doing jagged marks, so and then the center, I want to be a little darker. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take some of my pastel here. Even though there's not much tooth on here, there's still enough to put some on there, and I can just rub it in with my finger like this. And then take some of this color as well. Draw that through there. Let's get some more of the brown. Get some lines in there from that. And then let's go back to the charcoal. See, that charcoal is not picking up. I really need a darker pastel to really get that spot darker. maybe the paint wasn't totally dry. Let's put some Inktense in there, if it'll go. It probably won't go yet, no. A little bit is going in there, that yellow. I'm probably digging into the paint a little too much with that. But you know, a nest is going to have some lighter twigs and highlights. Like that. And let's get some of this lighter color in here as well. And let's put a little pop of turquoise in here too. Why not? With the pastel. And even some of these twigs. Pull some of that turquoise out. And I'll blow excess off. And now I'm going to take the matte medium and try to set some of this in place. That's probably too much. And I'm going to use that little short stubby brush, especially here in the middle, because I think it'll move it a little better. Yeah. And I'm going to try to follow along with some of that on the brown areas. Of course, there's charcoal mixed in there too. That's okay. This whole thing is about having fun and making a mess and mixing up the mediums. And I'm running out of matte medium on there, so I need to clean the brush and get another good helping of it. And I like to blow off the excess. Let's see. Let's get some of these blue areas to help set them in place. And then let's get some more in here. And I'm changing directions with my brush and just kind of swirling it. I think I'm going to need a lot more highlight in this nest eventually. Now keep in mind the matte medium is going to dry clear, so even though it may look kind of milky white right now, it's going to dry clear. And if some of this mixes with paints and some other things, that's fine. I think I'm going to need a darker pastel to try to redraw some of these lines because they've gotten kind of light. These charcoal lines is what I'm talking about. I'm setting in there what's in there by using this matte medium. Trying to see if there's any places I hadn't got it. Right there. Well, that's a good start to the little nest. Of course, that needs to set now and dry. And I could, at this point, get one of the lighter acrylic colors and bring it in there. And just, let's try the cream color. And this is lots of white and a little bit of Titan Buff to make this cream color. That's pretty bright. That should brighten things up. Let me find the right brush. I should have already had this out. I like this. If I can get a hold of it. Is this the one I like? No. This is the one. I like this liner brush here. And I need to really have this a little bit more liquidy than it is. So I'm going to get some with the palette and put on this. I don't need that much because I don't know how much of it I'm going to use. And, you know, I can use the palette knife too to... Ooh, now that's interesting. I was going to use that liner brush, but, you know, I'm thinking now I might just want to use the palette knife in small amounts here to get some of that light in there. And just kind of follow the lines I've already got with the nest and twist it around. And they don't have to be on any exact area. And I'm trying to draw curved things with a straight palette knife, which is interesting. And I think I want most of my highlight to be on this side. So I'm going to turn it where I can maneuver it a little better. Notice me twisting my wrist all the way around. Why not? It makes me work at an awkward angle, and it makes the color more spread out differently. I think I do need some up here. Okay, that's kind of starting to look like a little something. I'm going to get very little on there and do maybe a little twig out this way and one out this way. Well, lost my... You should see the angles I'm getting in here to make this happen. Twisting. So this area would be more in shadow. I'm going to try to pull out some of the twigs out this way. Well, that's kind of fun. Now I think I might want to bring some of this that's left in here. This is looking like the lighter area on the piece, so why not just, let's get some little texture in here. And if it's too strong, which I think it is, I just get my finger a little bit wet and move some of that around a little. I haven't got much left on the palette knife. really want some down there or not. Maybe a little right there. Oops. Okay. Maybe a little right there. And then soften that. Just softening a little bit of it to give it interest. And I could even take this with my finger and sort of further outline parts of the nest. I'll put a little bit right here. Just a little right there at the top area. Uh-oh, probably shouldn't have done that. Now I got it too wet right there. Paper towel therapy. That's getting somewhere. Let's see, since I've got stuff that's going to be sitting here drying, you know, I don't like to waste anything. There's a little bit of paint left in this right here, and I got to clean it up anyway. So how about we stamp some of that on there with that paper towel. That's good. And I've got some matte medium left here, which, what do I want to do with that? I don't know if this will pick up any more charcoal lines. Well, it may, since I'm going into wet paint over here on this side. Maybe try to get some lines down here. In some areas where I really didn't have any wet paint at the moment. It's probably just gonna have to dry a little bit more before I can make that be really effective. But since I've got some matte medium left, and that is charcoal, let me just go over what I did to seal it so those lines will stay. Trying to remember where I made lines. I did come over here in the wet paint. It's not really going to move the charcoal though. But anyway, now since it's wet, what else do I want to do? Because it's going to have to sit here and dry anyway. So now might be a good time to drip a little Inktense in here in a couple spots. On the other hand, I don't want it setting too long on that acrylic. Let's try this particular one. And let's just get a little bit on the liner brush here and see if I can get some little lines in here, giving some of that bright turquoise color into the painting. I mean, it's subtle. Uh-oh, I picked up some of the wet paint. Yeah, it's probably not quite the right time to use the Inktense, but I am thinking of dropping a little drop of turquoise there, though. Let's just see what happens. It's going to blend with the paint. It's going to change the look of the Inktense. And let me just move it around with the liner brush into some of this paint. I already did. And this may or may not be a good idea. Maybe better if I drip some water in there where I can move it a little better. I don't know if that turquoise might be a little bit bright. How about we just do some splatters with that and do a swoosh or two. Let me switch to the green one. I think this is the green, yeah. See, when you use the fine liner brush with the Inktense block, uh-oh. Somehow I knew that was going to happen. It takes a lot to get it to come off of the block. That's actually kind of interesting there. See if I can pull some of that down here. That color. That's actually kind of interesting. I'm going to try that over here on this side with this color. Looks like it might be a good spot to bring in some of that color. It might be too much, so let's put some water on it and let it spread out a little. And you can always maneuver it to create some interesting drips. Now this is Inktense, and so when it's dry, when it dries, it's wet now, and when it dries, it is going to basically be stained on there. Trying to get it to drip down to the edge. And then if you got too much, you can always tap back with a paper towel. And that's looking pretty cool at the moment for a little fun abstract nest painting. This still needs to be darkened. I think I still need some more fine line detail in there, but not sure with the turquoise. Well, I do have the dark brown. Let's try that in the center here. I'm just going to dot it in there, in that center area. Probably still need some even darker color than that for the center, but we'll see once it dries. Let's see if I can pick up some off of here that's pretty dark and use the fine liner without getting it in the paint. That's the problem. The paint, the cream color paint is still wet. So it's going to blend with it. And I mean, that's okay, but I have to be careful not to touch the block with it. I don't want acrylic all over the block. So after I see it gets in the paint, yeah, I really should wait till that paint's dry. I'm going to pick up a little more of the turquoise. That may not have been the right choice. I really need a more dark division right there. That needs to look sunken down in there more. So it needs to be darker. Maybe after it dries some, I'll be able to use the charcoal on it. If not, I can get a dark, darker Inktense block than the brown. I can get the black one if I need to get that out. I do like the little splatters that ended up. I don't like this right here. And once again, I think there needs to be some little darkness here on this underside, which is where I'm hoping this charcoal pencil will come back in to play, but not right now because it's, yeah, it's just, it's too, you know what I need? Something I can use the palette knife with to get in there. A color of acrylic, most likely, to help darken that. And then I want to bring in some more of these acrylics. Here is the powder blue. Here's the straight cobalt turquoise light, which matches pretty good. Wonder where that could go. I don't know. I want to try this. This is a powder blue with the cobalt turquoise white light and lots of white. It's a really bright blue. Let's try. Sometimes if you put a highlight near the dark spot, it'll make the dark spot look darker than it really is. Let's get some of this in here. That's kind of pretty. This is, bring some of it up this way. And I'm just dragging it gently across the design there at the top. Let's see if I can. Drag some in that way. I did not intend on using this palette knife here, but it sure is making a nice little abstract look. Yeah, I'm liking it now. I figure since I'm putting things on here that have to dry, why not go ahead and put some of the acrylic in that has to dry anyway? Because if it's going to dry, it may as well have to all dry, right? What else do I want to add in here? Sometimes I have to hold it back and look at it. Well, we could try this one. This color is like the turquoise green on the paper here. We could try some of this with the palette knife. I don't want a whole lot of it, but it's a more darker, subdued color, so it would be more on the underside. And even, let's see. Oh yeah, let's just mess it up down here on the bottom and put some of that in there. I like that. Let's see if we can get some that's left over here. And then over there, now let me get a little water on my finger here because I don't like that. Let's soften some of this up where it's too harsh. And then we could do a little paper towel therapy right there and pull some of that back out, and it'll also give it some interesting texture. Anything you can grab to make texture. That's actually looking pretty cool. We've got light, dark. I think we need a little more light right there now that I've done that. All right, let's try. You know, we haven't used this, this is like the neutral gray. Where's my palette knife? Try to bring some of this in, this color in. And I scrape it back off on my jar because I'm trying to get a line for using the palette knife that's not too harsh. And this is Titan Buff mixed with neutral gray 5 and a little white. I want to just integrate some of this in here. It's a real natural color, I guess you would say. Got a little too much right there. I'm just looking at spots where I think it would look good to have some. I need a little bit more there. I'm going to turn it this way and maybe try to get a nice line of it on here where I can come out and kind of come down there and a little bit out here. I'm trying to draw with it, which may or may not work. Well, it kind of does. I'm not sure if I like this right here. I'm going to dot some of that in there. And maybe even come up with that. Basically, I'm carving into it with this particular color. And trying to do it in a circular fashion by shifting the palette knife depending on where. Uh-oh. I may not like that. I do like the the green there. I'm probably gonna need to do some texture therapy here with that paper towel, which is mostly wet. Might need a little water to sit there a minute. Let's see if I can pull some of that up. Where else might I like this? I like to bring a multitude of colors into a piece. This turquoise is looking too bright over here, so I'm just gonna rub this in a little bit. Drag a little line out this way. Ooh, okay, I might have used too much of this right there. I think I need a drier piece of paper towel to actually pick some of that up. Now let me try to get these. Oh yeah, see, it's pulling up this color from the water drops now and revealing what was underneath there. It's actually left some cool round spots under there. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's see. That's actually quite fun. I feel like we need a little more wiry pencil marks though, but unfortunately I won't be able to get those in and set those properly until after all this is dry, unless I use acrylic and bring it in with a palette knife, which I can do. I have raw umber here, but I don't think that's going to be dark enough. I think I'm going to have to go a little bit darker than that to make that pop. I think I need to step over here and grab a black of some sort, or Payne's Gray. Payne's Gray is one of my favorite colors, and it has the blue tones. I don't know how that would work, but we can try it in the center. I'll just get a little dab of it on here and see. And maybe, okay, that might work. That Payne's Gray. I don't know if I want it anywhere else though. It's pretty dark in comparison to what's there. Maybe, let's just try a couple little specks of it around some of these curve areas here. If I could keep it at a real fine line, it might work. Oops. See, I don't like that. I like it in a couple spots. I'm not sure I want to add that much to it. I think it does help set some things off. I'm trying to keep just a tiny little fine line on here. I'm just taking it straight from the tube. try to help offset some of the nest. I'm just not sure about down here. I think it would make it too dark. I don't want to add a whole lot of it. This is one of those times when less is much more. See, even there, I think that looks like it's a little too much. And I can, using the fine liner, maybe kind of spread some of that in there. Just a little bit of water. I don't know if that's too much there or not. I don't know if I can pick it back up with that brush or not. I can move some of it around. To get some really fine detail lines of it at a lower opacity because it's very, very wet. Just some hints of it. Okay, I think this needs to dry. I really want to come back in with some of this charcoal. And I could do it with a soft pastel. But I like the fine lines of this, and I'm just not sure it's... Oh yeah, I think once it dries, I could do it. So I would need some matte medium, which I still have some here. Maybe I could go back and forth here, and when I put a line down, go ahead and set it at that point. So it won't be... Let's see. The areas where the paint's real thick, it's not going to do well. I can tell you that. Let's just set those lines in. Down here is where I was really thinking on this bottom. And maybe even over here. This is still pretty wet. I'm going to hold way back on the pencil and... Yeah, that's not doing it at all. A little bit there. That paint's still wet. It did fine at the top. It did fine right there, but there's not very much paint there, see? And if you don't like it, you can scrub some of that out. I don't know if I can come this way or not. That paint's still really wet. Yeah, it's just too wet. It's gonna have to dry, but I'm sealing what I'm putting down. And I could paint the sides now. Like, get that off that charcoal pencil. I could go ahead and paint the sides at this point. And I'm thinking I would like to do the the Titan Buff Neutral Gray, which is this color, up around here at this corner, and then come in with the darker turquoise green. Let's do that. Let's start with the lighter. And clean off these brushes, get them out of my water. Clean off the palette. I may add some palette marks on the side, maybe, but right now I'm just going to take this big brush, which is clean, and go with the Titan Buff Neutral Gray and a little white. This color. And I'm going to start up here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Every little piece of the sides doesn't have to be covered. It can look kind of distressed like this. And let me get this side. Same way. Just kind of streaky. That way the sides will be done. So while the rest is drying, the sides can also be drying. And then I can decide if I want to add anything else. See, that's kind of distressed. And I'm actually going to bring this into the other sides a little bit. Just to use up what's on the brush. Because why? I don't like to waste paint. Now let's go with this darker color. This one. Now I'm just going to dip it right in there. And I'm going to start down here at this corner and work it up right into, oops, I'm trying to hold this where you can see, but I bet you can't. I'll show you in just a second. Working it right over that neutral color. Like that. Keeping it with the distressed. Look, let's see if I can hold it up on this corner. Once again, here's the greenest corner, and then drag it just very lightly right over with other paint that's on there, like so. And then we're going to come around these sides with what's left. So it's a really good transition. I'm going to end up dropping this. Really good transition between the the sides and the top. It's got two of the main colors. But it's more of the neutral right up here, and then it turns into more of the green as it goes around. And like I said, I don't want them to be perfect. I want them to look a little bit distressed. All right, sides are done. And I'm going to take a little break and put the fan on this. I'm going to clean out my leftover matte medium that's in this dish. And I'm going to put the fan on this, and that actually made some interesting color. And let it dry good. And then come back and see if I want to add anything else into there. But right now, I think it does look like a little fun abstract nest. I like doing these. I really like doing them with collage in there too, like little pieces of paper just here and there. They're kind of hard to tear though in a circular or, you know, any fashion other than straight. And I just didn't feel like dealing with it today. But let's look how we are on the December colors. Pretty good. And let's look at the other pieces here. pretty good, where everything's tying together real nicely with this month's palette. I like this palette. Anyway, I'm going to put the fan on it and let it dry, and I will be back. Well, we are mostly dry. I am playing with this Inktense pencil here to try to get some thinner lines in here in the brown. And I'm just setting it with the water. And trying to remember where I drew a line. There. That one got a little dark. So I'm taking the Inktense pencil in the oak color. I think is what, yeah, oak, which is a brown color. And I'm just going over it with the fine liner with a little bit of water, which will help set that. And if some of it comes away from it, that's okay. In fact, let's see. What I don't really like here is these sections here being so thick. And I accomplished that with the pastel. I'm sorry. The background was with the pastel. And I'm thinking it was this color. And I don't know if I can get a little bit of that on there. And of course, I'll have to set it with something. And I'm thinking the matte medium, because I really don't want to, I like that little pop of turquoise there. I don't want to brighten it too much. I'm just going to put a little bit there. And let's see if I can dab this on there. And keep it kind of speckled without messing up the speckle look that I just got by scraping that across there, that pastel. So I'm just touching it real lightly with the side of the brush mostly, just to get this to cover it, because that's what's going to set it in place. And even though the matte medium, remember it's a little, and I can actually use some of that to work into the design. It's a little white right now. Let me take some of this where I did that brown, and even right there and down here. This is the green one. It's a little white right now, but it'll dry clear. And it's best when you're doing this to do it as you go. Because if you don't, and you can wipe the excess somewhere else, if you don't do it as you go, you may forget where you were, which is real possible that I've already done that. See, that just has to set. I'm probably gonna need a little more of that because I think I'm gonna put some more. Oh, I missed this spot, see? I'd put some turquoise there. So now I am gonna need some more. Not much, just a little bit. Whoops. Just wash the brush off, dry it, dip it in this, and we're gonna go. Yeah, I missed a couple spots over here, I see. That's why I say do it as you go. If you're gonna do this with the pastel again, because you'll forget where you put it. Yeah, I missed some right here of the turquoise. I don't really like what I've done there, actually. So, let's see if we can do a little paper towel therapy. And maybe rub it in a little more, which basically turns it into a glaze. And of course that paint right there was still a little thick, but maybe I can pull some of that down. Okay, that might work. In fact, let's put this up. Let's get that dark Inktense and let's do a little drop with the block here and add some water. Bring some of that dark brown color down here, maybe with some splatters. Maybe another little drop of water or two. Let me try to make it drip. Make it run. Oh yeah, that's interesting. And let's take my palette knife, now that I've done that, and just kind of brush that around a little bit. Might want a little more of that dark there. See if I can get some to splatter some more in that area. And really, maybe even use the fine liner to brush some of it in here. Actually, some of this color I think needs to be brushed throughout on here to give it a little antique look. It'll act like a glaze with it being super wet. Let me get my little dish over here and see if I can get some off here in the dish so it's not quite so dark, just very light. And glaze over some of this. It may be too light. See if I can get a little more of it off that block. I love these. There we go. I love these blocks. Oh yeah. Because they're dry and you can just kind of carry them everywhere. And just immediately wet them and you have something to paint with. Just like that, very portable. Okay, let me take a look at that. I have to hold it up. That pastel's drying up nicely. I'm thinking I might want another drip or two here, if I can make it happen. Add a little bit of water. Let's see if I can get that to drip. Well, it's going right where the other drip was. That wasn't what I intended. So let's dot some of that back out. Let me try this in a couple different spots. Not that I minded it there, but I didn't necessarily want it in the same spot. Oh, there it goes again, same spot. Sometimes it helps to tilt the board while you're making it drip. Then when it gets off to the bottom, just let that paper towel touch it. I still need some more. It's not, I'm picturing a real dark, nice dark drip or two here, and I'm not really getting it. Let's try it like this. That's a little better. And then dot some water on it. Oops. And then you can run the drip back the other way as well. And even tilt it some. And then pat this part off on the bottom. And even make that line a little more broken up. Break it up, break it up. There, that looks kind of interesting. And I tinted some of this. See, this cream right here is now tinted a little bit. And I think I need to do some more of that. So I'm gonna get some water on the brush and that same Inktense brown. Just to tone down some of these colors and give it more antique look. Because it is so watery, it is acting like a really nice glaze. There we go. This blues here is a little bit bright. Let's see if I can swoop some of that in there. This Inktense is wonderful, though, for a really quick application going from dry to wet. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Now, I used it pretty dry on the brush and just kind of, and then if you get too much, you can mess with it with your fingers. And I mean, I'm just playing now. This is a lot of fun to play with. That pastel is drying up very nicely with the speckles showing. And once this is all dry, you'll be able to touch it without a problem. There's only one thing missing at this point, and that is gold. I discovered when I used them on the 12 minis that this gold here, my favorite gold, actually is very close to the fun accent color for December. And I tried to apply the Inktense, this Sicilian yellow. I did try to apply that, but it's just not really bright enough with these colors. It's just not popping. So I like this, and I could use a stencil, and I have the, let's see, let me see what my stencils are. I know I should decide on things before I video. Well, we've got these feathers here, which are kind of interesting. I'm not sure if they're feathers or leaves. They're kind of like a feather. There's the bigger one is too big, I think, for this. They're feathery looking leaves. I just don't want to overdo it. And of course I have the little dots one that I used the last time that was very fun. But I'm thinking on this one, I'm thinking maybe this small one up here. And let's see, which way is that going? Pointing down. This way. The small one up here. That way. And then this one this way. Somewhere down in here. I don't know if I should do that or my script text. Or maybe both. Decisions. I could do off over here. And then, oops. And then maybe one down here. Let's see. One up there, kind of going that way. And then one down here, kind of going this way. To just give it that little pop. Oh, it's scary. It would look cool. You know what? Let's just go for it. Now this I would apply with the palette knife. This is the Deco Art Americana Decor Texture. And this is Bright Gold is the name of it. And it's very thick. And of course, after I do this, I'll have to go wash this out. So there's the small one right there. Right here. That's pretty dry still up there. The small one there. Let's see, that one's going that way. Maybe this one going this way. Down here. Let's see. Let's try it. I don't know if you're supposed to use these one direction or another. I'm not a stencil user. It's just not something I do. But I'm going to try. I'm just going to get a little bit of this on here. See? It's very little. And of course it's not, I didn't get enough on there. Still didn't get enough on there. There we go. All right, now lift up and hope that it worked. Yeah, it did work pretty good. Let's see if I can wipe this off before. Oh, that's kind of fun too. It did work there pretty good. Now this one I want to go the other way. Like maybe down in here. Right in there somewhere. This one I'm going to try to get a little more on there. I don't want to overdo it though. That's my problem. I overdo things and then it makes a mess. But we're going to try. That. Hey, that's pretty good. That is pretty nice. And of course, you know, I don't like to waste paint. I have a little extra here. I could put it back in the jar. Or what could I do? Maybe I could do the, I don't know if I could do the script stamp with this. It may be too thick. Trying to wipe that off before it dries on there. I think some of it's going to be on there. That did pretty good too. Let's see what it looks like. I almost want to mess them up just a little bit at the bottoms. But I don't want to do too much gold. What if I just take a little piece of paper towel, and I have gold all over me. I'm just going to test it on this one. Just kind of bring some of that gold outward a little bit. Yeah, not sure I like that. I'm holding it out so I can see. Don't know. Don't know if I like it or not. At first I did, but I'm not sure I do now. I'm not sure if I like the actual stencil mark. I better decide something fast though, because it's going to be there. I could water it down and stamp some of it away. And that would just integrate gold into the piece. Oh, I better decide fast though. Or I could use one of these wipes. Let's see. No, that's going to be, I'm going to have to water it down. Yeah, I'm not sure I like it. I'm going to water it down. This may not be a good idea. And I'm going to take the paper towel. It's probably on there too good. Okay, I'll just wipe it like this. It gives it a gold shimmer, which I probably won't like. So I'll probably have to come back across that with something else. I don't know, I kind of do like that now that I've done that. Interesting. Where's that palette knife? Still got some on there? I'm almost thinking I'd rather do the script. Like a little script here and a little script there. Rather than the feather. I don't know. Or what? I do like the gold shimmer it gave it. I don't have any gold shimmer on the sides. I got it all over here too. I am the queen of undeciding and redoing. If you haven't been able to tell that now, I'm going to try to wipe that gold a little more. Move it around. Oh, it's just got a little touch of it. It's got a little glow to it. It's kind of interesting. Not what I initially intended. And I'm not sure I really like it. And I almost want to come back over this with some acrylic of some sort. Yeah, I kind of lost my drips there. Maybe I should bring my drips back in. Or, let's see what I've got in my drawer here. I like to use old credit cards and licenses and things like that to dip into paint and drag it. So I'm going to try that with this. And I'm going to get another wipe out here. One of these wipes. Now this makes an interesting texture, this stuff here. Might use both of these. I'm going to dip this in the cream. This is just an old piece of an old driver's license. I don't want too much on there. And I'm just going to gently drag it down and across a little bit. To create some interest up here in this corner. I mean, this is supposed to be an abstract nest. So I think I'm accomplishing that. Little of the gold still shows through. And I can also put some lines in there if I want to reveal what's underneath. And then drag some more. And soften some of those edges. I got a little bit on my fingers. Is there anywhere where I might want to have that? How about right in here somewhere? Just to soften that color a little bit. Yeah, I like that. All right, now wash that off. My little card. Now I want to try this. Do I want to try this or do I want to try that? Don't know. The darker color down here? No, I don't think so. I think I'm going to go with the gray down here. And I don't know if I should maybe use this. This is kind of an interesting pattern that this stuff makes. This is the stuff that you put on your cabinets, in your cabinets on the bottoms to, you know, create a nice area inside your cabinets for your dishes and glasses and things to sit. Let's see if I can. It's a great thing to create texture with. It's a lot of fun. Whoa, that's a little too much texture. Okay, where's that paper towel therapy now? Because I need some of it. I could do it with my finger too. Might need to put a few little areas of water here just to take some of it back off. It's a little much. I had it on too much of that. I want to reveal some of what's under there. And another way, dunk that in the water. Another way to reveal some of what's under there is to come right through it with a end of a brush or a palette knife. I don't mind a few of the little dots there, but I went a little crazy with the dots. And get a little texture going in here with this. And then dot it some more with this. Now, let's look at it. Okay, that's not bad. I do think I want some of the darker color. Where is it? Is this it? Yeah. I do think I want some of this in there, though. So, I'm going to just dip the card in it. And I am going to, let's see, what am I going to do? Let me try to just do a few little lines through there. Gotta get a little geometric stuff in here, you know. Kind of makes it look like a fence. See that? That's kind of cool. Yeah, I do like that. Okay. I'm not going to overdo that again, though. Anyway. Let me take another look. I know it's hard for you to see when I do like this, but I have to, it's always best to look at your stuff from far away. I do like that little shimmer of gold at the top and the bottom. You can see it when you turn it. So from different angles, that's visible. And that kind of goes along with that little fun accent color for the month, but it's not overwhelming. What else? Do I want to do anything else? Or do I want to leave it? The sides are done. See? Distressed. The colors that were used in the piece. I think I might just call that one done. Unless I want to put, how about a few more splatters? Why not, right? What color though? The brown. the Inktense. I'm going to get it over this tray over here so I don't go too crazy with it. I think I want the splatters going this way. Oops. After I just said I wasn't going to go too crazy with it. But you know what? I can dab some of that back. I didn't want it over that far. Still, that's fun. Now I think it may be done. I think this nest is ready to go. I might need a tree branch for it to set on. You think? Or not? I honestly wonder about having a few more strands of nest come down through that way, which would also be the dark brown. Let me just see if I can get some right from the block and hold the brush very far out. And of course that's too much. So I'm gonna use some of that as glaze that I just put in there. Take some of it back off. Maybe I'm going to add a little water to that one, and this one, and this one. And I just had it a little too dark. There we go. Ooh, that one going up that way. I liked it. Now let's see if I can kind of get one coming off that way. And kind of extend this out. A little bit more on this side. And maybe one more there. You can't have too many twigs. Believe me, I have a collection of old nests. And the amount of stuff these birds put in this nest is amazing. I almost wish, and I do have some somewhere, but I'm not going to do it on this video because it would just be ridiculously long. It's already ridiculously long. But I have some pearls that I could glue in there to be makeshift eggs, which I have done before. I almost think the hole needs to be, that dark area needs to be a little bit darker there. Okay. And here you thought we were done. Well, you know how it goes with me. Never done. I mean, it's not going to be super dark. I just think it needs to be a little bigger. Not that that makes a bit of difference in the scheme of things, but it does to me. Gives the little bit more room in there, a little bit more sense of depth. I could probably do it a little bit bigger than that. But I'm actually going to stop right here because I think you guys have seen enough. And after it dries, I'm going to take some pretty photos of it. And I guess I need to sign it as well, which I do sign my work in gold. And I'll show you the little pen I use. I started this a couple years ago because it kind of is kind of like my thing. Also by, I think this is the same company that makes the deco art. I'm not sure. It's called Deco Color. Liquid gold, 120S gold, and it's extra fine. And you shake it up, and I will sign that right down here. I don't know if it's dry enough. Yeah, it is. But I always test this on a piece of paper. And it's not bright gold like this other gold. But it just gets it in there subtly. I don't want my signature standing out like a sore thumb and taken away from the design. And you can see it, you know, when it's angled. You can see it. It's just real simple. But I've been signing my work with that for a while now, a couple of years. And that's kind of my thing. And I have a bunch of those pens because I like it so much. But it's extra fine Deco color 120S, as in Sam. Anyway, I kind of like my little nest. And I'm going to stop talking now so I can let this dry. I hope you guys have enjoyed learning a little bit about these materials and what they do when you mix them with different things. And seeing how you can take the palettes that I give away on my website, that you could take those, and you don't have to use these exact shades. You just get close with whatever materials you've got. And I used a bunch of materials here because I just like integrating a bunch of different things into something. But if all you have is acrylic, you could do the same thing in acrylic and a pencil for the lines. Inktense, I know everybody doesn't have that. You could use maybe watercolor as well, but you would have to cover it with the matte medium to set it after it's dry, because if it gets re-wet and touched, it can be lifted. I don't know how, I don't do a whole lot with watercolor. I have them. I have watercolor markers here. And I have other watercolors. I just don't do a whole lot with it. Posca pens, Posca, however you say it, they'd be great for doing the little line work and little marks. Soft pastels, not everybody has those. I understand that. You can accomplish the same thing I did on the background with using acrylic paint with a little matte medium mixed in. It did give it the pastels gave it a real matte finish. And I really, really, really like that for the background on this. So, that is my art for the day. And I hope you guys have fun trying something like this on your own. Even if it's not a nest that you decide to do. I just like birds. Nests are kind of something I really like to do. And I like little houses too. Maybe I'll do a video on little houses sometime. I don't know. But right now, it's nest day. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for playing with me in the studio this afternoon. Have a good day.